Hello, ambitious entrepreneur. It's Tash Corbin here, and welcome to another episode of the Heart Centered Business Podcast. This is episode number 339, which means you can find all the relevant links and show notes for today's episode over at tashcorbin.com/339. And you're going to want to note that one down because today's episode is a spotlight episode. I have invited one of my favorite EFT practitioners, the amazing Kerslake, to come and talk to us about mindset for business through the lens of being someone who's very ambitious and someone who sets very high standards for themselves. So if you identify with either of those, I think you're going to find this particularly helpful. So let's dive in. I'm Tash Corbin, and this is the Heart Centered Business Podcast. Hello and welcome to this Spotlight Series episode of the Heart Centered Business Podcast. I'm joined today by the amazing Kerslake, and Claire is an amazing EFT practitioner. I've worked with her myself, and she helps women in business with mindset and getting stuff done and achieving their goals. And she's especially skilled helping those of us who are ambitious and set high standards for ourselves. Hello and welcome, Claire.
Hi, Tash. Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here.
No worries at all. I'm really excited to have you on the podcast because I have experienced the awesomeness of working with you as a tapping practitioner. I am also a huge fan of emotional freedom technique or tapping, but we won't make this an ad for tapping today because I want to actually dive into your specific expertise. And so I'd love to know from you first and foremost, for those of us who are ambitious and we set these really big high standards and goals for ourselves, where do you see women like us in particular tripping ourselves up or struggling with online business?
Yeah. One of the problems is that the default is often to do more. And it's like, okay, I'll just do more. So perhaps if we're not where we are at the time of year, oh, no worries, I'll just do more. And underlying that is often a belief that success takes hard work, that perhaps a belief about not being good enough or not having done enough. And the next problem is that hard work often leads to burnout. And then we've got other problems as well. So yeah.
I think one of the things that I've really needed to work on unhooking in my 10 years now as an online business owner has been the link between big goals and a big to-do list. So, in the planning posse, we say big goals, small list, as a reminder that the pathway to bigger goals or achievement isn't bigger workloads. So I really love what you've touched on there. And I think it's very easy and normal for us to have that mindset of you have to work harder in there, right?
Oh, totally. And it's what society teaches. I grew up being very proud of my work ethic. So it's been a whole unwinding of that and dissolving those underlying limiting beliefs. So it's one that's supported by society that glorifies being busy. And it's common. We have this, we know it's possible to have this beautiful life that's spacious and abundant, but yet we're defaulting to behaviors like I'll just do more, I'll just work longer.
Yes. Yeah. And so people often come to me as the strategist to say, okay, I want to break that down, right? I want to work less and earn more or help more people. And the thing that I usually find is the problem's not their strategy. The problem is that even if we pare back their strategy, they fill the gaps because their mindset is telling them that's not enough stuff. I even had someone come on retreat with me once. We mapped out a whole year and then they were waiting for the taxi to come and pick them up and they'd got their calendar out and were putting things in the holes. So, is that what you see as well? That there's a mindset piece that needs to be unhooked, or, how do you go about helping people who seem to just, even if they want to work less, just can't seem to relax into working less and believing that it's going to be possible for them?
Absolutely. And because there's this guilt that comes up. when you're, even allowing some space in your life. I've got to feel it.
Yep.
And, I've got to do more. And yes, it just comes up. So the strategy is one part. And I know you say often, it's a strategy and a mindset. And that is so true. And often, we say, oh, I need another coach, or I need another strategy, that shiny object. Where actually we need to work on the underlying mindset. And once you shift that, you just see this beautiful natural spaciousness that comes in.
Yeah.
And we realize that actually in doing less, we achieve more.
Yes.
It allows that creativity and abundance, and things just naturally happen, which is beautiful.
I love that so much. And actually, it's funny because the reason I worked with you was not necessarily on business to start with. It was on my health and well-being. And I had cracked that nut, like cracked the code when it came to my business of finding the easy way. And oh my gosh, look, when I work 10 hours a week, I get far more done than I work 60 hours a week. So let's just do that. But I was really struggling with my health and well-being. And you very quickly uncovered I hadn't got rid of that core belief when it came to health and well-being. It was the same thing, but it was just in a different application. And so I bet you see this does tend to have like those spider webs into other parts of our lives as well.
It does, totally. And you also bring up an important point. Often we don't see it in ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's not until you're actually working with someone. And I guess that's one of my zones of genius. I can just spot it.
Yeah.
And it's like a little red flag waving. Oh, this is where the problem is.
Yes.
Yeah. So yes, often we just don't see them, which frustrates me in myself. But someone else can usually spot it easily.
Yeah. And so particularly for ambitious people who set really high standards for themselves, do you see that there is also a tendency to need to go it alone, or I should be able to figure it out because I'm smart and I've done this before?
Oh, I so relate to this, Tash. Was me, and it's been a work in progress, actually. And one of the biggest lessons for me over the past year has been to support myself. And that beautiful question, what do I need? How can I support myself today? Because in that you end up supporting your business and all your whole life, really. It's not your life and your business. So yes, asking for help is such an important skill to have, and to be able to learn that and receive that, because receiving help is very important. So whether sometimes it's not paid, sometimes it's using the help that you already have, but you're not using, you just don't see that.
Yep.
So you're getting help and not being Ms. Independence. I prided myself on being Ms. Independence. So it's been a really important lesson to learn. And there's that saying, it takes a village, and originally it's to raise a child, but it's to grow a business. And being able to support ourselves in beautiful ways ties in really well with the time thing and doing more, because we don't need to do more if we got the appropriate support.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I actually myself, I just recently was having a conversation with someone about my resistance to joining some of those more high level masterminds. And one of the benefits of joining something that's at that level is you get lots and lots of network, and you can grow your audience and all that kind of stuff. And I realized that one of my reasons why I didn't want to join one was because it felt like cheating, and it felt like I wouldn't have earned it. And even though like you have to pay a significant amount of money to be in the room, you have to have earned the level of business to be in the room, I still felt like, no, but getting help from people who are peers in a mastermind, that's cheating. I'm only there because I paid for it, and that's cheating. So, I think that shows up in a lot of different ways. It's not even just like hiring a team member or hiring a tapping practitioner to work with. It can even show up in like not buying the course that you need, or working in the mastermind that you need because there's some subconscious belief that somehow you're not worthy, or you're going to it's not fair that other people can't afford to be there, or, oh my gosh, there's just so many things, Claire. So this is a really good one then. So we've talked about a lot of different reasons and angles why people might be making it harder for themselves or getting stuck with their business growth and mindset in particular for business growth. Do you see that people have like a complex like web of things, or do you feel like everyone has like their one core belief that they need to unpack, and then that when we get to that one, it's done?
Often there's a few.
Right.
And one that leapt out at me when you said that was, it's not allowed to be easy. It's got to be hard.
Yeah.
And that ties in. So it does tie into the work hard thing.
Yep.
And there can be a guilt around if it's too easy.
Yeah.
And also we tend to make it harder. We'll find some way to make it harder. If it's easy in one way, so that ties in. Often there's related beliefs. But the beautiful thing is with EFT, and what I find when I work with my clients, is that once you dissolve one, the other one, anything related goes down as well, which is gorgeous. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. And so why do you feel that EFT is such a powerful tool in this space in particular?
It's a magical tool. I just am so, I think I'm blessed in doing the work I do and the impact that it has. And when I work with women in business, that enables them to have an impact.
Yeah.
So it gives me goosebumps really when you think about the cumulative impact. And EFT is a tool, some people think it's quite woo, and I did. Initially, when I came across it, I just thought, oh no, it's a bit, it's bridged too far for me. And then I became aware of the extensive research, really good quality research underpinning it. And that was enough for the health professional part of me to say, oh, well, perhaps I need to relook at this.
Yeah.
And it just seems to work, and it works in a lovely way. It's a very gentle modality. And of course, when you work with a practitioner, you've got that additional support. But you see the results come as if by magic. Yeah. So if someone, let's say you're working around visibility or even working hard, so someone whose schedule might be absolutely totally packed will suddenly tell you, oh no, they're taking a week off and going on holiday, or they're shutting their Facebook group for the weekend.
Yeah.
Or these things, and you think, a little while ago that would have been unthinkable.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yep. But you see these beautiful changes that unfold, and it feels easy and it feels aligned.
Yeah.
So it's not like we used to feel, it's very masculine, this saying, feel the fear and do it anyway, and push through. It's not like that at all. It allows you to align with what feels right. It seems to clear all that rubbish away so that you can step forward then and take that beautiful aligned action. So that's a really beautiful, I think it's a really heart-centered, very feminine way that we can do business when we work like that.
Yeah. And one of the things that I love about EFT in particular is that there's no pretending you don't feel that way. There's no like, just push it down and do it anyway, or, anything along those lines. It feels like my feelings are valid, and I get to decide if I want to keep that belief or not. And if I want to let it go, it's a really powerful way to do so. So if I uncover that I work better with a stick than a carrot, right? I don't need to be rewarded. I just need to be punished if I don't do it. I get to decide, do I want to keep that belief or do I want to let it go? And so there's something from a psychological perspective, there's something very empowering about that, because it's not anyone else forcing me to change the way I think about things or to, operate in a different way. A lot of the mindset stuff that I did before I discovered EFT was very much that push through type mentality, the get up at 5 a.m. and journal and all of this kind of thing. And as someone who does not know what a sunrise looks like, that's not going to be working for me. So, the thing that was really the big thing for me was it was the first time that I'd seen anything in that personal development mindset space that wasn't forcing or wasn't dictating, that's stinking thinking, get rid of it, or, delete that thought, delete that. You can't say that. Like, I remember going to a coffee with someone who I'd done a mindset program with, and I said something along the lines of, I probably should do da-da-da. And she's like, we don't should ourselves here. And I was like, I got attacked for using the wrong word. And so, yeah, I totally agree with you, that gentleness. And for me, it's that, like, I get to decide what I want to work on and what I want to let go of. And working with a practitioner is really powerful because, as you said, you can see things like, oh, you just said blah, blah, blah. Oh, I didn't, it just came out. I didn't realize. And so again, it's that deciding, do I want to keep that belief? Is there a reason why I want to keep that? Or is it now time for me to let it go? But I get to be in control, which is really gorgeous. Yeah. So Claire, what would you say if someone is listening along to this and maybe they haven't used EFT before, or they felt like EFT didn't work for them before? What would you say is like a good initiation or way to get started with using EFT for mindset?
It's a very simple technique to learn, and certainly I've got some tools that are great for that.
Yeah.
Just give it a go, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's quite.
I know you've got your ultimate tapping toolkit. So do you want to tell us about that now, seeing as though we talked about that?
Oh, certainly. I love this freebie. It's because it just offers such incredible value. And there are things that come up often when you're a woman in business, and in a whole range of areas. So it might be around pricing, feeling like a fraud, working harder, which we've talked about. So lots of common things. And so I've done a lot of tapping demos on these things so that you can tap along, because one of the hardest things is, and the most common questions I often get is, well, what do I even say? And so I talk about that as well in the toolkit. So it can be useful to tap along with someone. Now, having said that, the caveat is that I always say, often we stop too soon, and the videos, they're not like a consult, the video isn't 45 minutes long. So just to keep tapping. And I also, in that toolkit, there's videos on, what to do if it doesn't feel like it's working. And this is some of the reasons why. And of course, people can always reach out for extra support as well.
Love it. And we'll have the link to the Ultimate Tapping Toolkit for Women in Business in the show notes of today's episode. And it's totally free for you to jump in and grab that from Claire. So make sure you go and check that one out. Now, Claire, a last question that I ask everyone on the Spotlight series is, if I was to quote you on anything today, what is it that you would like me to say?
Probably what I'd love to leave the listeners or watchers with is, don't stay stuck. And I'm really passionate about this because I was stuck forever. And give yourself the support that you deserve. And it might be to hire someone. It might be to utilize the support you already have. So there's lots of ways we can support ourselves, but, give yourself that support.
Yeah, that's absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much, Claire. And I do want to also just add my little pitchy pitch in here, because I definitely was someone who thought EFT was just not a thing. But I was in a program where you had to do it. Like, it's like, you can just tap along going, I think EFT is ridiculous. Like, it doesn't matter, but you've got to try give it a try. And so I decided I would just fake it for 6 weeks, and then I would never do it again. And after doing it every day for 6 weeks, it became something that I could see how valuable it was. But the most significant shifts that I've made with EFT have been working with a practitioner. And that's part of the reason why I love emotional freedom technique so much, is because you can do it yourself. But then when you feel you're hitting a plateau in your income, or things are feeling hard, or you can't see what the problem is, you can't see what's causing it, working with a practitioner is where you go so deep and it really does uncover the stuff that you can't see for yourself. So just like me as a strategist, I work with a strategist. Just like, a mentor needs a mentor, a healer needs a healer. Regardless of how capable you are, how amazing you are, how smart you are, yes, we could do it on our own, but often we're doing it on our own because we've chosen the hard way, because of that underneath belief that we should do it on our own because we can. And so if you haven't tried EFT before, or if you have tried it and you're like, it hasn't really done much for me, even just booking a couple of sessions with a practitioner can just give you that like line in the sand of, is it that it doesn't work for me? Or is it that the script wasn't specific enough? Or is it that, I wasn't tapping, on something that was particularly emotional for me? Or, there's a lot of reasons why when we do it ourselves or we follow along with someone's videos, we don't necessarily feel that difference as strongly. So I just wanted to put a little plug in there for working with someone like Claire, because I encourage it in all of my programs, that people work with a tapping practitioner and come, some kind of mindset practice. And I particularly love tapping because it is so proven. And I remember watching the Olympics actually with my sister, and she's like, what's wrong with that guy's face? And he was tapping in the waiting room before he went out onto the swimming deck. And I was like, he's doing tapping. And so, it's something that I have seen move into sporting industries, corporate coaching. We've seen it become far more recognized as a modality. And there's lots of science to back it up. And it's an energetic practice as well, because you're tapping on meridian points. So I feel like it's like this beautiful bringing together of two worlds. So do make sure that you check it out and give it a go. Thank you so much for joining me today, Claire.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Awesome. And don't forget, everyone, to go and check out Claire's Ultimate Tapping Toolkit. We'll make sure that we've got the link with today's show notes. Bye for now, everyone.
Bye.
Would you like more tips, tools, and resources to help you grow your heart-centered business? Head to tashcorbin.com today.